Hello, everyone. We are glad to see you at the open house days of the School of Engineering and Digital Sciences. And today's presentation is devoted to the PhD programs of our school. My name is Lunara Sakieva. I'm the marketing manager of the school. And today's speaker is Matteo Rubagotti. He's the director of graduate studies and also associate professor of robotics department. So as for today, we will have this presentation. After it, we will have the Q&A session. You will have the opportunity to ask all your questions. We also invited admissions manager. She will join us and help with the questions also. Dear Professor, you can start the presentation.
Okay, so good evening again to everybody. Thanks, Lunara, for your introduction. So, as Lunara already mentioned, I am Director of Graduate Studies in the School of Engineering and Digital Sciences. And today I'm going to give you this presentation about the myth and reality of doing a PhD at our school. And I will also go into a little bit of details about our programs and what type of programs you can choose and how they are organized. So let's start with the first part. So the presentation will be divided into 3 parts. The first part is about PhD myths. What is that? So here by myth, I will refer to a popular belief that has grown up around something or someone. So you might have a friend whose friend is doing a PhD, and you talk to your friend and he tells you something about how the PhD of his friend is working. And as you know, when some information travels from mouth to mouth, it might change a little bit, and then some urban legends might come up. So today I want to debunk these urban legends and tell you how the truth is. But before that, let's start by listing some of these urban legends then that students might be talking about. So now I will just tell you something about these most popular myths around PhD in STEM disciplines. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So not only PhD studies in engineering are subject to these misconceptions. There are 4 types that I will be listing. The first type of myths are about prior aptitudes. So what the skills and mindset needed prior to PhD are. The second type of myths are about the regime, meaning the duration and daily dedication during your PhD studies. Then we'll talk about financial support, so about the funding available during your PhD, and then about expectations. So what are you expected to produce during your PhD, and what can you do after that? Now, I will just mention those myths, and in the last part of the presentation, I will tell you what the reality is. So there is a spoiler alert here. So all of these myths will be either partially or completely false, of course. So let's start with myths about prior aptitudes before starting PhD. Some people think that they need to have work experience before starting a PhD. Some people think that they need to know everything about the field in which they want to pursue their studies, or that they need to be a genius, or sometimes that they are too old and overexperienced. So these are myths about your, let's say, preliminary condition before starting PhD. Then what about what you do during a PhD? You might think that doing a PhD is just 3 to 4 years of student life, so same as a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. On the other extreme, you might be thinking that when you do a PhD is like, let's say, a standard job where you need to work rigid business hours from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. with a boss that is overviewing and telling you everything you should do. Also, even more extreme, though a little bit different, you might think that you have to work day and night in a lab to get your PhD. All right, so let's see now some myths about financial support. You might be thinking that you will be struggling really with the little money that you will get as a stipend during PhD. You might be thinking that if you need to go to a field trip, for example, to gather data about your research, you will need to pay yourself, or that you need to pay yourself to go to participate to a conference, or that you will need to pay yourself if you need to buy some consumables that you need for research. Finally, what about expectations? Well, some people think that they will be assigned a supervisor and a research topic, and that's it. There will be no way to choose anything. You might think that if you have a certain research hypothesis and that hypothesis then is proven to be false, then that's it. You will not get your PhD and you will be a failed scientist. You might think that you can only publish papers after completing your PhD. We'll see a little bit about papers, of course, afterwards. Or you might think that doing a PhD would only lead you to academia, and related to that, that you will not be able to work in a company because you will be seen as overqualified, or in any case, as someone who has spent time doing something which is not useful for a company. Okay, so now, before going to analyze all these myths and giving you an answer about what the reality is, let's have a look more closely to what our PhD programs at our school are. So, first of all, what are the doctoral programs in which you can enroll? Well, each department in the School of Science, School of Engineering and Digital Sciences, runs a specific program. There used to be a program which is still running in Science, Engineering, and Technology, which was covering a wide range of topics. You might have some friend who's enrolled in such program, but now that program is still running, but newly enrolled students will enroll in programs that are specific for the department. So we have a PhD in Chemical Engineering, which is offered by the Department of Chemical and Environmental Engineering. And if you choose this specific PhD program and you get admitted to it, then you will be working, being supervised by a faculty member of this specific department. So I can anticipate to you that your research topic will not be forced on you, of course, but you will be able to discuss with different faculty members and then choose a topic which is interesting for you, for which you have some interest and ability to, let's say, to conduct research on it. Of course, you will get courses about how to do it, but you might want to choose a topic which is related to your previous background, for instance, and then you need a faculty member from that department who has the knowledge to supervise you on that specific topic. Our research topics, of course, depend both on the specific research field of our faculty members and also on certain priorities for Kazakhstan. So we always try to conduct research which is related to the economic development of Kazakhstan whenever possible. So research topics that you can work on, for example, in chemical engineering are energy generation, conversion and storage, environmental protection, remediation and resource efficiency, hydrocarbon processing, plastic production and processing, etc. Now, I will tell you something which is not only valid for chemical engineering, but for all PhD programs. If you have some questions about a specific topic, about what people are doing about hydrocarbon processing, for instance, I would advise you to do one of the following actions, either to check the website of our school, and there you can see the list of faculty members. Each faculty member has a list of topics that are his or her research topics, and you can email directly that faculty member by saying, for instance, I'm interested in doing research on this topic. I see that you're an expert of it. Do you think I could do a PhD with you, etc. You will not need to choose your supervisor at the beginning. We will see it in a moment. but it might be interesting to get some information. There are other alternatives. So you can, I was thinking about 3 alternatives. One is to check the website. The second is to write an email, and you can do both things, of course. And the third one is to attend some of the other, let's say, events that we have in these days about open days. So if you are interested, for example, in a specific department, you can attend the open day of that specific department, and they might give you some additional information about their specific topics. All right. So that said, let's move to the second PhD program. We have 6 in total. It's PhD program in civil engineering offered by the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Research topics, for example, are energy green growth, urban and regional development, environmental care and equitable management, advanced transportation, and sustainable engineering and digitalization. Then we have a third PhD program in computer science offered by the department with the same name. Research topics are, for instance, artificial intelligence, which is a very, let's say, important and widespread topic nowadays, systems, data analytics, information security, and smart cities, just to name a few. Furthermore, we have a PhD program in electrical engineering offered by the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Research topics are power engineering, electronics, signal processing and communication, biomedical engineering, intelligent mechatronic systems, and computer engineering. Fifth program is PhD in mechanical engineering, offered by the Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. Research topics are energy engineering, biomedical engineering, advanced design, manufacturing and control, advanced transportation and sustainable engineering. Finally, we have a PhD in robotics engineering. I'm sorry, here in this picture, the name engineering was missing, but still, the official name is PhD in robotics engineering. Research topics are intelligent systems, industrial automation, human-robot interaction, medical and rehabilitation robotics, and others. All right, so before proceeding further, let me give you some information that you might be asking later, so I will reply to you even before you ask. You might have noticed that certain topics are present for different departments. So for example, you see mechanical engineering listed biomedical engineering as a possible topic, but that was listed also in electrical engineering. So for sure, there is some overlapping. If we think about, for example, artificial intelligence, that's a topic mostly related to computer science, but in robotics, people are working, myself, I'm working on some applications of artificial intelligence to robotics, and people in other departments, I'm sure in electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, probably in all departments of our school are working on topics related to artificial intelligence. So you might be asking yourself, okay, how does it work if I conduct some interdisciplinary research topic? Well, the idea is that you need to choose a supervisory team. So your supervisory team will be made of your lead supervisor, an internal co-supervisor, and an external supervisor, co-supervisors as well, of course. So your lead supervisor must be from the department to which you apply. So if you want to do, for example, here we see electrical engineering, you want to do PhD, you apply to PhD in electrical engineering, your lead supervisor will have to be a faculty member of electrical engineering, and then your co-supervisor can be from other departments, even from another school, and then you have an external supervisor from outside the university. And so the idea is that as long as your main supervisor, your lead supervisor, conducts research related to the topic that you are interested in and belongs to the department for which you apply for PhD, it's okay. And just keep in mind that nowadays research is very interdisciplinary. So, all right, now let's have a closer look to the structure of these programs. So all of these programs have a total of 240 ECTS credits. ECTS credits are just a way to measure the amount of work that you do. And let's say in general, 1 year of studies is equivalent to 60 ECTS credits. So 240 means 4 years. ECTS is just an acronym, stands for European Credit Transfer System, and accumulation as well, but the A is not in the acronym. And again, it's just a way to measure the amount of work. You might have seen them already in your bachelor's or master programs, even here at NU, if you are studying or studied here. So what do you do in these 4 years? We can divide the PhD studies into 2 main parts. As you can see here, during the first year, here we separated the 2 semesters, year 1, semester 1, and year 1, semester 2, you will be mainly taking courses. So in the first semester, you have 2 core courses, so research methods and ethics, and then, okay, thesis research is not worth any ECTS credits for some technical reasons, but okay, don't worry about that, that's just technicalities. So let's say in practice, 1 course on research methods and 3 elective courses of 8 ECTS credits each, for a total of 24 credits. And in the second semester, you will take another, let's say, core course, which is current research literature, and another 3 elective courses for a total of 24 ECTS credits. So in general, these courses are needed for 2 main purposes. Let's say, on the one hand, we want to give you some background on the specific PhD program, on the basic topics related to the studies in that specific area. And on the other hand, as typically you already know at the beginning, at least you have some idea about the research that you want to conduct. And as the first year goes on, you will get a clearer and clearer idea about what you want to do. You can take some courses which are useful and that provide you some useful information for the research that you are going to conduct afterwards. So it's important to mention that for these courses, you need to maintain, according to current regulation, a cumulative GPA of B- or higher. What does it mean? As you may know already, you can get different letter grades for courses, and the minimum to pass a course is C. C means 2 out of 4, 50%. So here you can pass courses getting C, but the average that you need to keep, the GPA, is B-. So the average grade should not be 2 out of 4, but should be 2.67 out of 4. And it's very important that you keep this in mind in order not to have problems during your courses or having to retake courses after the first year to increase your GPA. And of course, here, this is just one of several regulations. Is the most important. So if you check the NU graduate academic policy and procedures, you can see the details, but okay, it's not important at this stage. What is important is that you get a general overview. Then at the end of the first year, you need to pass a comprehensive subject qualifying exam. This exam is managed by the department that offers the specific PhD program, and it consists of verifying that you have basic knowledge of the topics and of the methods specific for the PhD that you are going to, let's say, in which you are enrolled for that program. So it typically spans different subjects, and then if you pass that, then you are ready to start doing your research. Of course, you will start doing a little bit of research also during the first year, especially if you start identifying your supervisor, your supervisory team. You might start doing a little bit of research and going ahead. But of course, you need to give full priority to your courses, which are what matters. No one will ask you about your research results at the end of the first year, although there is this thesis research course, which is about starting, having a look and getting into the topics of your research. By the end of the first year, you also need to identify and set your supervisory committee, supervisory team, and your thesis topic. So I was mentioning before that you have a lead supervisor, an internal co-supervisor, and an external co-supervisor. You need to identify them and choose them by the end of the first year, of course, together with the topic that you're going to investigate. Then, with the second year, you will start doing your research. Now, what are you going to do at the beginning? Well, at the beginning, the main idea is that you need to make a plan. So you need to choose your topic. Your topic needs to be interesting. And that's where your supervisory team will help you a lot, because you don't have a deep knowledge of the literature. So they can tell you, okay, look, maybe we can do together research on this topic. Maybe you have some idea. They tell you, yes, that's interesting, but rather than doing like you propose, let's do it a bit different, because they know, of course, what can be interesting and what can be publishable in international journals and conferences. So you choose your topic based on how interesting it is and how you can make a breakthrough on that specific topic, but also based on how feasible it is, because you might choose something which is overly ambitious and which you cannot do during 3 years of PhD alone. So in order to see if this plan that you made, the topic that you chose is all right, there is another exam, which is after the fall semester of the second year, which is a thesis proposal defense, also called research qualifying exam. So here, in this exam, you will need to give a presentation about the topic that you chose, about explaining why it's interesting, why it's worth doing research on it. You need to explain your plan in order to show that this is feasible, that you can do it by the end of your fourth year, etc. And if this gets approved, then you can go on more relaxed with your research. So you will carry on with your research during the whole PhD, and then during the last semester, you will need to submit your thesis and to defend your thesis in front of a thesis committee. And if that's successful, you will get your PhD. So let's see now, what do we offer you in order to succeed in your studies? Well, in terms of excellence in education, we have several research active faculty members in our 6 departments. Practically everybody is actively doing research, publishing in international journals, going to international conferences. Unfortunately, lately due to COVID, a bit less, but still we are all active in terms of international collaborations and being active members of our scientific community. And this, of course, is very important to introduce you to this community and to guide you in your research. We have very supportive administrative and technical staff, because of course you will need to deal with forms, approvals, with problems with your computer. So we have people who are very helpful in this. We have very good top-notch labs and high performance computing. And research funding. So I can tell you that the facilities that we have in our school are really world-class facilities, and you can do really good research. I know in detail the equipment that we have in the Department of Robotics, but I know that other departments are equally good. And this is really a very good opportunity for you. And also we have research funding. All of our faculty members are constantly applying for funding from different sources, for example, from the Ministry of Education of the Republic of Kazakhstan. And so we have different research grants on different projects that are being run. We have, of course, a state-of-the-art library and teaching technologies. We have a growing participation of international students to our programs, and we have international collaborations with more than 50 global universities. So universities around the world. So as I already mentioned, our faculty members are collaborating with different researchers in other universities, which can also be a good opportunity for you to see your research from different perspectives and being able to interact with people from slightly different backgrounds. In terms of dissemination of research, we all participate in high impact publications. And then and then of course, meaning that you will be able to participate in those as well. I mean, it's not that you will be able, you will have to. We will see that that's a requirement for graduation, for getting your PhD. There is support in the generation of national, international patents and entrepreneurship opportunities, because it's important for us that if you want, you can maybe start with a startup after finishing your PhD, which can also really help towards the economic development of the country. So that's also very important, and we have a team of people who are very helpful for that. And then, of course, there is contribution to society. So we organize events, you can participate, present, show your research, etc. Now, what are the characteristics of our graduate students that we expect by the time you graduate? These graduate students, but of course, as a PhD student, you are one particular type of graduate student. So we have certain attributes for NU graduates, and now let me go quickly through them and let's see how these apply specifically for PhD studies. You need to possess an in-depth and sophisticated understanding of your domain of study. Well, that's obvious. So if you get a PhD, it means that you have a very deep knowledge. Typically, when you study a bachelor or a master's degree, you get more widespread knowledge. So you study, for example, bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, you will see many different topics, so many aspects of mechanical engineering, and you will get a really good overview, such that when you go to work in a company, then you will specialize in something specific, but you still have a wide range of skills. For a PhD, it's a little bit different. We give you, maybe with courses at the beginning, some overview of the topic, but then with a PhD, you need to become really an expert of that specific topic. So you cannot become an expert of mechanical engineering, of everything in mechanical engineering, for instance. It doesn't make sense. No one can do that. So you will focus on a specific topic. That's something quite specific. You will read 150 papers on that specific topic about what other researchers have been doing in the past few years. And thanks to that, then you will become really an expert of a specific topic. So PhD is mainly about going very deeply on something quite narrow, such that you can become an expert. You need to be intellectually agile, curious, creative, and open-minded. Well, that goes without saying. Of course, as a PhD student, you need to do research. Research means inventing something new. So of course, you have to be curious and creative. You need to be a thoughtful decision maker who knows how to involve others. Specifically for research, it's very difficult to do research by yourself. The idea, the stereotype of the mad scientist that locks himself in a lab for years and then discovers something great, it's not really how it works. In order to do some discovery, you will need to collaborate with others, also because you have a very deep understanding of a specific subfield, but in many cases, to make a breakthrough, you will need to collaborate with others who can provide complementary knowledge on something else. You need to be entrepreneurial, self-propelling, and able to create new opportunities. This is specifically, in particular, if you want then to become an entrepreneur after your PhD. You need to be a fluent and nuanced communicator across languages and cultures. For instance, you can do all the research that you want, but if you cannot communicate to others, for example, in conferences, what you did and why what you did is important, you will never be able to be successful because you will never be able to find good collaborators, etc. Then you need to be a cultured and tolerant citizen of the world. Of course, that's important in any case. And you need to demonstrate high personal integrity. So this is true in general, and for research conduct in particular, because there are certain kinds of behaviors. You will see those in research methods and ethics courses, such as data fabrication, etc., which of course are very bad and which undermine science in general. So you need to be sure to know about all those, and of course, absolutely never to be involved in any of such behaviors. Then you need also to be prepared to take a leading role in the development of your country, because when you become an expert of a specific topic, and then maybe you want to develop, to conduct the development of your country by becoming, for example, a faculty member in a university, either here or another university, and train others, or to go to work in a company, etc. You will be an expert, so you have a leading role. Now, to finish the presentation, let's go back to our myths and let's try to debunk them. So I've already answered to a little bit of these issues before, but now let's see a bit more in detail. So let's start with the prior aptitudes. So you might think, we saw before, that you might need to have work experience. Well, not really. So prior work experience can be useful, but it's not compulsory. For example, I did my PhD in Italy straight after finishing my master. I had about, I think, 1 week in between, and it's okay. Of course, if you have some work experience, maybe in a company which works on a topic related to the PhD topic that you are going to undertake, it can be useful because you have seen how things work in practice. But in general, it's not compulsory. It really depends. The fact that you need to know all about your field, no, because during your PhD, you will be both taking courses and you will study by yourself by reading books and reading papers about your specific subfield of which you need to become an expert. Of course, if you already have some background about your field, let's say about the field in which you're going to do a PhD, can be very useful. But when you apply for admissions, the admission committee will be very fine if with your previous background, you can study a PhD in that specific department. About being a genius, well, not really. I mean, it depends how we define genius. Of course, you need to be smart. I'm sure that all of you are, but what is important is to be curious and to be a critical thinker. So geniuses, I think in the world are very few. Surely I'm not a genius. I got a PhD. So don't worry. What is important is that you're passionate and you always think critically. That's what matters. If you think you're too old or overexperienced, not really, because passion, energy, and discipline are what you need. Passion for the research you want to conduct, energy because you need to spend time, and of course, discipline. And you can have them at any time. Now let's see about the work that you will do during your PhD. So is it just 3 to 4 more years of student life? Well, no, we saw already in the general explanation that it's different. So it's 3 to 4 or more years of scientific growth. So you will be learning, interacting with your supervisors, taking some courses, but of course you will see it's very different. It's something in between being a student and working in a, let's say, research and development division. Do you have to work in rigid business hours? Well, and also, sorry, do everything that your supervisor tells you? Well, not really. Now, let's have a look at the doing what your supervisor tells you. About business hours, we'll see in the next bullet point. So by the end of your PhD, you need to demonstrate that you become an independent researcher. So at the beginning of your studies as a PhD student, your supervisor will typically give you some tasks and check after 3 days, 1 week, if you did what was asked to you, and you will be introduced into how doing research works. But as you go on more and more, you will become the expert of that topic more than your supervisor, because you will be reading everything about that, and your supervisor will be in the meantime doing administrative tasks, teaching courses, supervising maybe another couple of PhD students. So your supervisor will not be as expert as you will be about that specific topic. So as you go on, you will, of course, discuss everything with your supervisor, but you will start having your own ideas. You will start saying, no, rather than doing like this, let's do like that. And towards the end, you will be the one who proposes how to continue the research activity. And this is because after you do your PhD, wherever you go to work, then you will need to have your own ideas. And you will have no one who will tell you what to do in many cases. So that's important that you become independent. What about working rigid business hours, so working in a lab 24 hours a day? Well, that's also false. Doing a PhD is hard and it's a lot of work. But typically that's left to you, because what matters to get your PhD is not the amount of time that you spend in the lab. No supervisor will say, oh, look, this student is all the time in the lab. It means that he or she is very good. No one cares about that. What we care about is that you achieve results. So, of course, you have to spend lots of time in the lab, or if you do more theoretical activities, just sitting on your desk with pen and paper, trying to, I don't know, prove theorems, for instance, if you do some, I don't know, theoretical aspect of, for example, computer science. But what matters are the results. So you need to work hard, but no one would be looking at the time you spend in a specific role. So what about financial support? You will not be struggling with your stipend, and you will not have to fund yourself for field trips, because we offer different scholarships. So in addition to the state scholarship, you can be enrolled by your supervisor or by someone else as a research assistant, RA, and work on a grant, which typically should be something related to your research activity. So in many cases, I don't know, I can have one grant, and then I discuss with you about a specific PhD topic, and then we agree that, okay, that's what you want to do. And then at the same time, you do research on that. That's also related to the grant topic. So I can hire you on my specific grant as a research assistant, as an example. In case you are not enrolled as a research assistant, because being a research assistant means you are paid, so that's additional money in addition to your state grant. You can also be enrolled as a graduate teaching assistant, so be teaching assistant for a course and being paid for that. What about, let's say, business trips in general, conferences, field trips? Well, you don't need to pay yourself, of course. And you don't need to pay yourself if you need to buy consumables to conduct your research, because our school offers an annual budget for conferences, consumables, and training trips for each PhD student. So in many cases, if your supervisory team, your lead supervisor, co-supervisor, they have a grant, they might, of course, pay your conference trips and consumables, etc., on the grant. But as another opportunity, you can also ask to the school directly. As a PhD student, you are entitled to that. What about expectations? So we already saw that it's not true that you have no word in choosing. So you will agree with a supervisor and both agree on research topic. Of course, if you conduct rigorous research, even you find out that if you find out that your hypothesis is not true, that can also be interesting. So in many cases, you can publish a paper where you tested a hypothesis. What about publications? Will you be able to publish papers only after completing your PhD? Well, no. You cannot do that, even if you want it, because you are expected to publish at least one journal paper as a first author. As you know, papers have different authors. The first author is the one who contributed the most. And you need to be first author of a journal paper on a reputable journal of your field. That's the minimum requirement to be able to graduate. Of course, most of our PhD students graduate with more than one paper, but this is the minimum requirement that shows that your research has been validated externally. Will you be able only to go to academia, and you will not be able, won't you be able to go to companies? Well, that's also false, because a large number of PhDs work in research and development in industry. For example, half of MIT graduates with PhD work in industry. So, of course, it's important that you work in a position where the skills that you acquired are valued. If you go to a local small company with 15 employees, it's unlikely that they would need your knowledge as a PhD, because they might not be conducting research and development. Usually, to have a research and development divisions, you need to have big companies. Of course, different story is for startups. If there is a technological startup, then there might be 10 employees who all have PhD, and that's a different story. But in general, if you work in, let's say, in the research field, there are many opportunities in companies as well. Of course, in academia also. So this ends my presentation. And I would like to thank you for your attention. And now we are ready to take your questions, if you have any. Thank you.
Dear professors, thank you for the presentation. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please. Okay, we have a question from Darshan. Will the next department open day include any information about PhD? Yes, usually our department representatives, so professors from this department, they show the electives, core courses, and what you can choose. Also, this information will be available. Which departments you are interested in, Darshan? We already had mechanical and aerospace engineering department's presentation. Okay, next question from Ajan.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt. Just one thing for Dosjan. Of course, in case, let's say, your interest is not in the department that has already presented, we encourage you to participate to the next open days. But it's also important that you check in the website, in our website of the school, because you can find plenty of information. You can see the description of the PhD programs, the topics, something about the structure. You can download the handbook of that specific PhD with some information. You can also check the faculty members, their publications. So I would encourage you to do some investigation, because if you participate to those open days, then you can ask them some more specific questions that can help you even more. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the professor is right. You can find the information on our website also. The next question is from Ayjan. She is interested in artificial intelligence and data analytics. So currently I'm on my second year of master degree, robotics and mechatronics. What kind of international internships do you have in this area? One of my goals on master degree was getting some experience abroad, but unfortunately I could not do it because of the pandemic. Okay. I understand, and the professor is from the robotics department. Maybe you can tell us about the international opportunities, conferences,
yeah,
internships.
There is, I mean, in general, for all departments, yeah, I'm from the Department of Robotics. I see that your topic, yeah, is probably data analytics is more related to computer science program. Let's say about internships, there is the opportunity for PhD students to spend some period abroad. Now, I don't remember the details, but I can maybe provide you some information. You can maybe leave your, I don't know, email address, and I can send you some details. So the idea is that, as far as I know, it's possible to spend periods abroad. So we don't have international internships. So in many cases, a PhD student does research, let's say, here, collaborating with external researchers. Okay, but I'm pretty sure there is opportunity to spend periods abroad. So yeah, okay. Thank you for your email. I'll get back to you with that.
Okay, thank you. And also, I'd like to add that we have some academic mobility programs, but I'm not sure that about the PhD students. Previously, for example, MEM students during the pandemic, they had an opportunity to spend a semester in Stavanger University in Norway, but it was online because of the pandemic. However, this opportunity is possible. This opportunity is available for our students. Okay.
Yes, of course, to the slide for Emmanuel. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. I think this presentation will probably be shared for the slides. I need to double check it, but I think I can send a PDF version of the slides. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay.
Yes, about the recordings, I'd like to add that we will upload the recordings on our YouTube channel. We have the YouTube channel of our school where we upload our webinars, some recordings, some interesting videos, but it will be in a few days, some time. Thank you. The next question. Criteria to be enrolled to PhD scholarship. So I'd like to send you here the link to our web page where you can see the criteria, the requirements to the students. And I'd like to add also that 19% of our students, they are studying on scholarship. With a scholarship, they're getting stipend. So the requirements are the same to be enrolled and to get the scholarships. There is no another possibility to, for example, to apply for a scholarship or just to have the studies in Azerbaijan University. Okay.
Yeah, so in general, typically about this topic, there are certain requirements about English language knowledge, and of course, we will send you the details about that. Yeah, and then there will be a committee. There is an admissions committee specifically that we'll see, because typically we have more applicants, of course, than positions, and then there are different criteria. Of course, we look at your transcript, your your studies. We look at recommendation letters. You will be asked to provide 2 recommendation letters from your previous professors. In case you have already published some paper at conference or journals, it's not that common before doing PhD, but in case, be sure that you provide that information as well, because that's taken into account. And yeah, and then there will be both an evaluation of your, let's say, profile, plus if you pass that first stage, there will be a second stage where you are evaluated in terms of your interview. So there will be an interview where we or whoever is in the admission committee will ask you questions about your interests and your experience. And based on how you answer to that, then we will decide the ranking. Okay, so those are the main criteria.
Yeah, of course. Actually, it's 6 points. So you should have your bachelor diploma, master's diploma, English language. You can upload also if you have the GRE maths certificates, but it's not compulsory. It's recommended if you have good results. And the purpose of statement, and you can find more information on this website. If you will have any questions regarding the admission process, maybe signing up to admissions portal, please contact us and we will help you with it. Okay, the next question, Emmanuel. Okay. I had both my master's and undergraduate in information technology and have already applied for PhD in computer science. When will the selection process start? I can't wait to, okay, I understand. So the application process for international candidates, the application will be closed on February 28th. And as for the local candidates, it's the February 28th and April 18th for the local candidates. And after it, we will start the process. So as Professor mentioned, first we will check all the documents. There will be, the admission department will check it, then the committee of the school, and after it, the candidates will be invited to the interview. At the same time, can I apply for different programs? You have the possibility to apply for 2 programs. And if you will be choosing for both of them, you have to make a choice which one is more preferable for you. Okay. Any other questions?
Just one question that often comes up, so you might be asking yourself this question at the end of the presentation after we finish, so I just try to prevent that. When you apply, okay, if you have already applied, like Emmanuel, of course, you will know that already, you don't need to have your master diploma already. So you can just provide your transcript, and then you will just declare that you are going to have your diploma at a certain point. Of course, before starting your studies, you will need to provide that. But at the time of application, you don't necessarily need it, as long as you are enrolled into a master program and you are finishing it. That's the only typical question that comes to my mind. So please, if you have others.
How many slots?
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, how many slots are available for PhD in computer science for next year?
Actually, we don't have the exact number of slots. It depends. But you can find the statistics, how many students were enrolled for the programs in the previous years. And I think it gives you some approximate numbers. I'll send you a link here also. Also, the statistics will show you the results with which results the candidates were enrolled to the programs. 1 second for this. Next question from Matteo. You made mention of publication at the end of the course. I want to know if it will affect the student who is not able to publish at the end of the course year.
Yes, I mean, as far as I know, that's a condition that needs to be satisfied. I mean, of course, you will start working on some research, and it shouldn't take you years before you're ready to submit a paper. So maybe by the end of your second year of studies or middle of your third year, you will be already ready to submit a paper. Really, many of our graduates in 4 years, they managed to submit, to publish maybe, I don't know, a couple of papers as first author, and maybe another 1 or 2 papers even as one of the other authors. So it's not a problem. I'm sure that the supervisor with whom you will be working will organize your activity to make sure that you are successful for that. But it can happen that, the problem of doing research is that we don't really know what we are doing, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be research. And if you already knew if what you do is possible or it works or not, then it means someone else has done it already. Then it means it's not research and you cannot publish it. So there is always some risk. So in case you don't manage to finish and to get your paper accepted by the end of the 4th year, you can extend your studies. We have some PhD students who take maybe 5 years to graduate, so it can happen. So it's not that we are counting like 4th year and then yes, we have an extension. So in case you provide justification and your supervisor backs it and you say, okay, look, we tried to do this, it didn't work, we would like to have 6 months more, 1 year more, then this is evaluated, of course, case by case, but yes, it has happened already. And yes, I mean, don't worry, it's not that we count with like counting exactly with a stopwatch, and once your 4th year finishes, we say, okay, stop, you don't have the paper out, sorry, okay? Don't worry, that's not going to happen. Of course, it means if you need some more time, it means that you worked hard until then. So typically, typically it's okay, you will be allowed. No, of course, no need to be sorry. That's my job. That's why I'm here, to take your questions. So please ask other questions if you need.
Yes, you can turn your mic on and speak out your questions. It's okay. So I missed the one question. What is the rank of the university from the whole universities in the world? Actually, maybe Aida could help us with it. I can send you information about the university, but I don't know exactly the ranking that we.
Hi, everyone. Yes.
Okay.
Lunara, could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Maybe you could help us. Could you please help us? What is the rank of the university from the whole university in the world? Do you know anything about the rankings?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I cannot reply for this question. Maybe you can Google it. So, but yeah, maybe you can find some information on our website. But about the ranking, really, I don't know.
Yes,
but among
about the ranking, as far as I know, there is some. I mean, new university. I mean, universities take years before they can get into those rankings. There are many criteria.
Exactly.
Universities need to be evaluated for several years before you can really get a full picture. So, as far as I know, if you look in those international rankings, I don't know, Times Higher Education, etc. Our university is not there. It will be hopefully in a few years, but at the moment, since we are pretty young, we don't have a full evaluation yet to be able to be there.
Yeah, we are nowadays, like we are in the process of, for example, for an accreditation. So by the strategy of our university, by 2025, we should accredit all our programs. Now we are in a preparation study in preparation process. So yeah, we are in the process. Thank you.
What is the monthly allowance for PhD student? Okay, so the stipend, I think it's about the stipend. So the stipend is 174,500 tenge, but I'm not sure. It's like $400. It's the stipend, and for GTA, it's something like $600. I'm not sure. Matteo, maybe you know about the GTA.
Yeah, GTA for let's say for research assistants, as far as I know, is a little bit higher. Of course, there are taxes. Yeah, and but I think that overall you can come up with around $1,000 state scholarship plus your, I mean, after taxes, I guess. Then of course it depends on the change, it depends year by year, but roughly that's the amount. And yeah, so the graduate teaching assistant, as far as I know, is a little bit lower than the research assistant one, but slightly. I'm talking about maybe, I don't know, $100 at most or something like that, less. Though this is, yeah, what I remember. Of course, year by year things change a little bit, so of course you will need to verify. All PhD students are qualified for graduate teaching assistant or RA. Well, to be qualified for RA, you need to talk to someone who has a grant, and you need to convince that person to pay you, okay? As long as you can do that, considering that you are already a PhD student, of course, that's okay. You are done. Of course, you will get a contract which can be, for example, for 3 months, 6 months. Then that person will see if you can conduct research according to what they need in the grant, and then you might be renewed or not. Of course, it's up to the PI, to the, let's say, to the person who runs the project. Regarding graduate teaching assistants, I think that as a PhD student, you are entitled to apply for GTA. Of course, as long as you are not RA already, you cannot accumulate scholarships, but as a PhD student, you are entitled to apply to be a graduate teaching assistant, yes.
Also, our students has the possibility to get the dorms, to place in the dorms, so the price is quite cheap regarding the prices in Astana and Nur-Sultan City. So I think this amount is good to have studies, and you will not be striving what are the conditions of living in Kazakhstan. So we are in the Central Asia, so the winters in Nur-Sultan are really tough, but if you will stay in dorms, it's really comfortable cost of living. This amount will be enough to have a comfortable life here. Also, our campus is very comfortable and has everything that you will need really close. A dorm, it starts from 2,700 tenge per month. It depends. It's some one room, single room, or maybe if you have a family, you will have other opportunities. So starting from 2,700 tenge, 27,000 tenge. Okay. So for example, a single room with one bed will be 80,000 tenge. And double room with two beds is, as I told before, 27,000 tenge per month per semester. Let me type it. So it's 20 tenge. You can ask other questions while I'm typing.
Okay, to work outside while schooling, the answer is no, according to the current regulations. So a PhD student is considered a full-time activity. So of course you can get either to work as RA or to work as teaching assistant, and that will be more than enough for your needs. But we don't want you to study, to work doing something else, because otherwise you will not be able to dedicate your time fully to your PhD, and you will not be able to graduate in time. So yes, that's not possible.
Okay, any other questions? Dear participants, you can turn your mic on and ask your questions. Speak out your questions. Yes. I can see that you're unmuted. Let me tell you briefly what we'll have, for example, tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have the electrical and computer engineering department's presentation. And on Friday, we'll have the civil and environmental engineering department. Next week also, starting from the Tuesday to Friday, we will have the presentations, and you can participate there. You can also speak with professors from these departments to know more about the programs that they offer. Do you allow foreign students to work after graduation in Kazakhstan? Can I also become a lecturer in the university? So actually, foreign students, they can work after the graduation, but there is a question with visas also. But I know this cases happen, occurs. And become a lecturer, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, the idea is, of course, here there is issue about visas, and visa regulations change, and of course they're not up to us. So let's say that you come here next fall, you get your PhD after 4 years, and then who knows how the visa regime will be by then, okay? So that, of course, you need to see. But in principle, let's say worst case scenario, your visa finishes and then you need to go back to your home country. Okay, from there you can apply. And can you become a lecturer? Of course, to become a lecturer, for example, assistant professor or instructor, let's say, for example, assistant professor, you need, let's say, after you complete your PhD, of course, you can apply. Of course, these positions are very competitive. So whenever we open a position, there are many applicants. But if you are the best, absolutely, you can, I mean, come here. Most of our faculty members are international, and we get the best people that we can in the world. So absolutely, our door is open if you are interested to apply. And to work in Kazakhstan, well, that's not up to us, but as long as they give you a visa, why not?
It's possible. So dear participants, it's already 8 o'clock, so let me finish this session. Thank you very much for coming, for being so active, asking questions. I hope we helped you. I hope this presentation will help you to get the right decision. Dear professor, thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Yes, question?
Thank you all.
Question? You can ask a question, please. Maybe, if I'm sorry for wrong spelling, you can turn your mic on. I can see that you raised your hand. No question? Okay, so if you still have a questions, let me type here our email. Please write us. Okay, thank you very much for this nice presentation. Emmanuel, okay, so the last question, Emmanuel, please go ahead. Emmanuel, you can ask a question. Racial response.
What do you mean by racial response?
We have really international faculty represented in Nazarbayev University. And in our school also. I'm not sure.
I mean, if it's how people respond to people from different, let's say, coming from different parts of the world, both the university and Kazakhstan in general is a very open society, and there is, I mean, in terms of being welcoming to foreigners. So I'm sure that you will be very welcome here in general. Yeah, foreigners. Kazakhstani people in general are very nice and very open and even curious about foreigners, and they are curious about knowing about their traditions, etc. So it's not a racist environment at all, and it's really great. So of course, yeah, I mean, no one has ever had problems here at NU. We are from all continents, all countries, and we've always been very happy about the situation here. So no worries about that. That's not going to be a problem.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please. You have time to apply. You already applied. Okay, great. We wish you good luck. See you in our university. Hope to see dear participants. Hope to see you among our students. To see you in the next academic year. Thank you, dear professors.
Thank you all.
A lot. Bye bye.